Welcome back, everybody, to the Insightful Podcast. Today is the start of season 3, and it is episode 51. To kick off this new season, I have a very special guest, Bruce. Bruce, how are you today?
I'm fine, thanks to you. Thanks for having me, Anthony. Glad to be on the podcast.
For sure. Yeah, I'm very excited about this one. It is the first guest we have that is a competing bodybuilder, so I feel like we could learn a lot from that. So I just want to get straight into it. Bruce, could you introduce yourself to the audience and explain what you do?
Yeah, sure thing. So I am still an amateur bodybuilder based in Cape Town, South Africa. So I compete in the NPC IFBB Pro League, which is basically based in the US. So we are critiqued and judged on the Olympia level IFBB Pro League criteria. And I've been bodybuilding. Okay, well, I've been training for about 10 years now, but I've been probably competing for about 5 to 6 years now. Yeah.
Nice. Okay. So my next question, I guess, to like get a bit about your story is like, when did you first discover bodybuilding, and like what made you decide to pursue it further and try to make like a passion out of it?
Yeah, so in high school, I was absolutely horrible at any and all sports. So my parents were like, well, you kind of have to do something, right? So they got me a gym membership just to stay active. So that's how I got into training initially. And then when I was training for about like 3 or 4 years, someone at the gym approached me and they said, listen, you have really good genetics. You should try and compete. I was like, if you say so. So I was like, okay, well, I have nothing to lose. Let me do my first show. So I prepped myself, did the first show. I didn't even place at my first show. I did so horribly. Not that I looked bad, but I just didn't have any idea what I was doing. So I went so horribly wrong, kind of, but I loved it. So I was like, okay, listen, let me get better at this. So I'm the type of person very like counterintuitive. Like if I do something incorrectly or not as good as I can, I don't just leave it or quit. I'm like, okay, let me improve on this. So that's how I got into
Hmm.
training. And then I was like, listen, let me just get better at this. Like, I really enjoyed the process. I made so many good friends because in the bodybuilding community, a lot of people, it's difficult to find other people that you can connect with because everyone doesn't really understand the sport. So that's how I kind of
Yeah.
got into training and then eventually into competing. Yeah.
For sure, yeah. Because I feel like bodybuilders, they're very different from the average person, like their mentality, their mindset, like what they think is important. So, like, I assume like surrounding yourself with people like that gave you some community that maybe you didn't have before. Was that kind of how it was?
Yes, 100%. So I think that's what everybody actually strives for, right? You want to find kind of your people, your tribe that you enjoy doing things with. And once you can relate to people, obviously open up a little bit more and you might have other shared hobbies as well. So that's definitely bodybuilding is a very, very strange sport because you're not really assessed on performance. It's kind of like a beauty pageant if you think about it. You're just standing on stage, right?
Hmm.
They're not going to
Yeah.
ask you how much you bench or while you're on stage. So it's a kind of different type of sport. So it's difficult to find the community, but I think once you find that in any type of passion or hobby that you have, once you find that community, like it obviously makes the journey a lot more enjoyable as well.
For sure. And I know I've like listened to some bodybuilders, and a lot of them say they don't like the actual, competing part, like the sense of going on stage, going through the poses. Like they mostly discovered bodybuilding and wanted to pursue it because of the training, because of the dieting. Is that like you? Like, do you enjoy the posing aspect of bodybuilding or not really?
Yeah, 100%. So what I tell a lot of people actually, if someone told me you'll never be able to compete again, but you can keep training, I'll be like, okay, cool. I love the training. So that's 100% true in my case as well. So and you also need to remember a lot of people are like, okay, this is this massive buildup. So let's say a prep generally on average, maybe like 16 weeks, depending on where your body composition is at when you start your prep. You're only on stage for about 5 minutes.
Hmm.
So I mean, you can't put everything into that 5 minutes. So I'm sure there are people that enjoy being on stage, and I enjoy being on stage, but it's the whole journey, that whole 16 weeks leading up to the 5 minutes that you need to enjoy. And that's the training and the dieting and everything. You can't just enjoy the 5 minutes at the end.
Yeah, for sure. It's more the build up, like you're saying, the training, seeing your body change over the weeks. What would you say is like your favorite weeks of the prep? Like, is it 12 to 16? Is it 8 to 12? Like, what are the your favorite weeks where you feel your best, you look great, like because I know some bodybuilders say like 0 weeks out to 2 weeks out of the show, they feel terrible. Is that kind of how you are, or like what's your favorite weeks of the prep?
Oh yeah. So what I generally like to do for my preps, just because I've done a few preps now, I like to do 18 weeks and then just take the initial like first 2 weeks to just kind of fix my diet because I do prefer having not a dirty bulk, but like I do add like quite a bit of body fat. Because
Hmm.
I feel then my training is good in the off season and I recover quicker. So I'm not one of those people that stays lean year long. I don't believe in that. And my body also just doesn't enjoy that.
Yeah.
And then I would say then I start my prep like at 16 weeks out. I would say I look my best probably about like 7 weeks out. Then everyone's like, okay, well, you look great. You're like vascular and like you've got your abs. You're like ready to go. And then I would agree with you. I think for the last 4 weeks, it's definitely very, very difficult. And then the last 2 weeks, probably mentally the toughest time during a prep because you're so depleted. You might be retaining water because of all the cortisol, because you're doing excessive amounts of cardio. You're still trying to do the same amount of weight, same amount of reps, sets that you do in your off season. So your cortisol's up, you're retaining water, you're not eating a lot of carbs, your muscles are flat, you look fat, you feel weak,
Yeah.
and you kind of just feel like death those last 2 weeks, to be honest with you.
Really?
Yeah.
So how do you like get in a mental position to get through those 2 weeks? Because I think most people, if they were dealt with that circumstance of that, suffering for those last 2 weeks, they would give up. So maybe someone that's listening that wants to do a prep, what advice would you give them to keep a strong mind during those 2 weeks?
So those 2 weeks, I would really say get a coach. Like honest,
Yeah.
like get a coach, but don't like get just like a general someone that stepped on stage a couple of times and now they're like an online coach. You see that everywhere. So do your research properly, get a proper coach, and get a training partner. Trust me when I say get a training partner that's not prepping. So don't prep with a friend. Get someone that's not prepping that can keep your head level and can say, listen, you're not fat. You're just retaining water. It's fine. You can push through. They're like, okay, listen, we're gonna do another set. You have 2 more reps in you. So those are my two probably major pieces of advice. Get yourself a coach that is experienced and then a training partner that's not prepping with you. So those definitely those two. That'll help you push through. But at the end of the day, it is also a very lonely sport, if I can say that, because your training partner's not going to be with you the whole day. And your coach is not going to be with you the whole day. So you kind of need to
Exactly.
learn that endurance as well. And that kind of once you have that, it it kind of translates into other areas of your life as well. So when you go through difficult, maybe in relationships or a family situation with something like it's difficult, like it does teach you just to push through. Like you got this. So you kind of
Yeah.
have to teach yourself that as well. But those two things will definitely help.
For sure. So my next question for you, I guess, is kind of building off of what you just said, is how has like developing your physique and pursuing bodybuilding like made you into the person you are today?
That's a very good question. So I think I've always been a very stubborn person, like a very stubborn person. So I think that helps with definitely just those last 2 weeks because I'm like, I've just prepped for like 14 to 16 weeks. There's no way in hell I'm not gonna like mess up the
See this
last two
through.
weeks, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
I need to see this through. So I think that definitely helped me quite a lot. And I think like I didn't have the easiest childhood either. So I kind of already had that fortitude in me where I was like, listen, no one's coming to save me. You got to do this
Hmm.
yourself. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think my stubbornness and just like that fortitude from quite a young age helped me quite a lot.
Yeah. And I think I see that with like a lot of bodybuilders. Like most of them will say that they're mostly introverted. They kind of like do things on their own, even outside of bodybuilding. They just feel that way. And I think that's why it's like the perfect sport for most people. Like, I don't compete. I don't really have a plan to compete anytime soon. I'm not the biggest guy, but I just love the whole idea of bodybuilding because of the solitude aspect, right? Like when you go in the gym, you're training hard, you got your music playing. It's like nothing else matters in the world. And I don't know if you feel the same way.
No, 100%. So that's changed for me a little bit the last couple of years. I was very into that in the beginning where we'd be like, okay, listen, this is my like hour, hour and a half to 2 hours with just my music in and I'm gonna train. But I must say, like the last 2 years, like I've really kind of I have a really amazing training partner at the moment as well. So it taught me kind of to be a little bit more extroverted. which is a good
Yeah,
thing because naturally I am very introverted. And you're right, I think most bodybuilders are. And that's how you also relate to people backstage where everyone's quite introverted and you're like, oh, and you kind of just start chatting to each other and you're like, oh, actually, like we're like basically the same person or whatever. So that's quite fun.
yeah,
But yeah, I think that's changed for me. But I do agree with you. You do need, even if it isn't at the gym, even if it isn't training, I do think everyone needs at least like an hour a day where it's like just you, no social media. Like you need to actually just like experience reality, like in your body, even if it's just going for a walk, right? No music,
exactly. I
nothing.
agree.
Just you need to just like kind of like center yourself, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because I feel that the world is so busy and there's so much going on that you never actually have any time alone in your thoughts or to deal with certain things. And I think that's why we deal with so much anxiety and stress is because we can't even understand why things are happening because we're so busy to even try to like dissect what's going on.
100% I agree with you. I think that's also, if I'm being honest with you, that the rise in like mental illnesses, because like you can
Hmm.
pick up your phone, like it's right next to you, it's on you the whole day, and you. I don't think we're designed to have access and this much interaction with people, because there's just so
Yes.
many people. Like if you go into like a big city, I don't think we've developed or we've ever coped with this amount of input and output at the same time. So I think that genuinely also has increased and impacts on mental health, definitely.
Yeah, and it's like if you do have issues going on in your life, you're able to like distract yourself so quickly. It's like you're saying you just pick up your phone, like you can't even find a
Yes.
solution to your problems because you just constantly distracting yourself because who wouldn't want to distract themselves? Like when you're dealt with like life issues, it's hard to deal with. You don't want to have to find a solution, but when things like your phone or video games or the TV is easily accessible, it's like, oh, I'm just going to distract myself and worry about it later. Then a week goes by, a month goes by, and those problems are still there and you never found a solution, right?
100%. It's basically just numbing a symptom at this stage. Like you just pick up your phone, you play a video game, days, weeks, months, years go by, and if you're not actually addressing the issue, it just gets worse, or it just never improves. You just stay at the same spot, and you just become a resentful person at the end of the day. See other people like doing things that you really want to do, and I think that also like perpetuates like a lot of the online hatred. Like these
Yeah,
anonymous accounts that just like comment on your posts and things, the most
exactly.
random things. Like I kind of feel sorry for them. I do like kind of reply. I always kind of reply to all my comments, but I do like feel sorry for them in a way because I mean, like you should always need to put yourself in someone else's shoes. Like if someone's reacting like that, like how are they feeling on the inside for them to come into like a random person's page and just leave a hateful comment?
For sure. Is that kind of how you deal with like the hate comments online and the like people that are negative? Is you kind of just try to come from a place of understanding why they're doing what they're doing?
So I always keep that in mind, but unfortunately, I do try and trigger them back because the more comments on a post, because they can't stop themselves from commenting back, the algorithm pushes it. So
Exactly.
in the back of my mind, I do know that, and I never take it seriously or personally. Like you'll see, like I'll never delete a comment like on one of my posts, no matter what you say. I'm just like you commented, I'll comment back, and I'll just try to keep the thread going. But at the back of my mind, I always think, okay, listen, what is this person going through for them to actually have to behave in this way? Because at the end of the day, just they by doing that, they think they're making themselves feel better. But once again, they're just numbing themselves to whatever's happening in their
Yes.
lives.
Yeah, and they're dealing with insecurities that they're not facing, right? Or they're just projecting them
Yeah,
to some guy
or
on
just
the
going through a
internet.
horrible time in life. I mean, like maybe it's like a family situation or something. Like you don't know what someone else is going through.
Yeah. And it's usually like you're saying the accounts with like no followers,
Oh
no
yeah,
profile picture, and they're just hating.
yes,
Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
For sure. So my next question is like since you were mentioning coaching and like how important it is with your coach right now, like what kind of relationship do you have with him and like how does someone find a good coach? Because I know there's coaches that are just going to give you a plan, you're going to follow it, you're going to ask them some questions, they're going to correct it. But is your coach more like of a leader and he's trying to help you and he's trying to make you understand why you're doing certain things and like when you are not feeling the best, he tries to like uplift you and stuff. Is that the kind of relationship you have with your coach right now?
Yes, so for my specific needs, because I have a BSc in molecular biology and biotechnology as well. So I know quite a lot about the human body. So I had biochemistry, physiology, anatomy, and all those subjects at university. So I don't really need that much input in terms of the diet and training because I know more or less what to do, even though we do
Hmm.
still have those conversations. But for me personally, I do need that psychological, mental, emotional like support saying like, listen, how are you feeling today? Like, are you
Yeah,
100% like on track? Like, how's your training going? Like, how's your sleep going? Not I don't really need someone to like design a diet for me, if that makes sense, or training
I
programs.
see what
Even
you're
though
saying. Yeah,
I would appreciate that, but I think especially those last few weeks in prep, anyone would need a coach that actually has that emotional support aspect just to push you through, just to get you on stage.
yeah, because it's like you're saying. I'm assuming when you're getting close to a show, you could be like very critical of yourself, and sometimes that critique isn't real. It's just something you make up in your head, right?
No, 100%, because I mean, like, you are exhausted. Like, your sleep
Hmm.
is not the greatest. You are doing so much cardio. You're still pushing the weights. Like, you're not eating a lot, so you feel absolutely horrible. So you need someone to say, listen, we're still on track. You're fine.
Yeah,
We're fine. We're still gonna get on stage.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. All right, my next question is, what has been the hardest obstacle you have faced in this bodybuilding journey, and how did you overcome it? Like just a pivotal moment that was very difficult for yourself.
Oh no, there's one that will always stand out for me. I still have like flashbacks and PTSD thinking about it. So I did a show. I can't even remember what year it was. It was right. Oh, it was 2021. So it was right after COVID, right before the Omicron variant came out. I did a show, and sorry, excuse me. I took the overall in classic physique, but they couldn't award me my IFBB Pro card because they needed international judges to officiate. So even though I won my
Oh
lineup and I won the
shit.
overall, they weren't allowed due to just the federation's rules, the IFBB rules. They couldn't give me my pro card, and I was like, I'm done with bodybuilding. Like I'm done. Like I don't want to. Like this is awful. Like I won. You should give me my pro card. And I took, I think, like a year off after that, and I was just like, okay, listen, this didn't go as I was planning it to go, obviously. And I was like, but you know what? Like everyone I speak to, they just assume I'm a pro, and I need to carry myself as if I already have my pro card.
Yes, yeah,
So let me do this. I can still do this. Like there's nothing stopping me. Yes, it's a bummer, and it's like stings still. But I
for
mean,
sure.
the stage is always going to be there, so I can't give up now. Especially like I basically already have it, even though it isn't official.
Hmm.
Just go for it. So like I had to take a year off just to like center myself again and just to find my passion again because I was distraught after that. I was like, "Are you kidding me?" But yeah,
Yeah,
I think you need to carry yourself, no matter what your goal is, as if you've already achieved it, right? You need to
absolutely. And
be
it's
that.
like,
You need to be that person that has it, right? Or it's already happened
yeah,
for you.
yeah, because you need to have that belief in yourself because it's exactly what you're saying. You did the prep, you looked amazing on stage, I assume, if you won the overall. So you won. It's something that was completely out of your control that happened that didn't allow you to get there, right? So you can't even blame yourself. You literally can't,
No,
right? You can't.
yeah,
And that's where I think
100%.
sometimes we might be like a little self-destructive because we always want to put the blame on ourselves, but there is some circumstances in life where it's completely out of our hands. And I'm assuming like are you in the middle of a prep right now because you're shredded? There's no way you're
Yeah.
not
So
prepping.
my next show is actually in 2.5 weeks. So
Oh, nice. So you're
yeah,
very close.
yeah. So that's a regional qualifier. So in South, well, I think all the countries that are not, yeah, if you're not in the US, and you're part of the NPC, you first need to do a regional qualifier. So I need to do this regional on the 26th of October, and then the pro qualifiers on the 8th of December.
Oh, nice.
In Joburg, so yeah, Johannesburg, South Africa. So I don't have to travel, luckily, because yeah, the exchange rate living in South Africa, traveling to like first world countries is it's not easy and it's not cheap. So luckily, the pro qualifier is in here in South Africa. So I'm gonna try and go for that again. So yeah,
Nice.
let's see if I get it this time. There will be international judges there, so if I do win the overall, I will get the pro card.
Awesome, man. That's good. That's good to hear because then it's something that you're working towards, and you know, it's like you say. How do you stay lean in that month? Like, how do you like discipline yourself not to? Because if you're gonna, if like you're most likely gonna win the regional qualifier, obviously, and then you're gonna go to the overall. How do you like stay lean during that month? Do you just kind of stay on diet, like even after the show? Are you cheating at all, or you know?
Yeah, so what I've done in the past that works for me quite well. So the week after the show, I basically do a deload week. Well, bump my calories back up to maintenance, right? And there's a calculation that my coach helps me with that. So we bump, so my food goes back up for a week, my training volume comes down. So I'm
Hmm.
probably in the gym for only 45 minutes, just getting like the necessary in, my cardio is halved. So that's basically the week after the show is like a break for my body. Even though I'm still training, I'm not in the gym for like 2 hours a day, and I'm not doing cardio for like an hour a day. So we bump
Yeah,
up the food, bump down the cardio, and just like try to reset my body, just like ease into it, and then 2 weeks after the show, back onto like hard diet again, up the cardio, lower the food again. We've done that before, and my body really responded quite well to that.
for sure. And that's the journey with bodybuilding. I assume like you guys try things, and then if they don't work, you don't do it in the next prep, or if they do work, you follow it through with the next prep. I assume that's how it is, right? A lot of like guess and test.
100%. So I always tell people if it comes to like coaching, if it comes to a type of training, a type of diet, if there was one way to do it, everyone would be doing it and everyone would look amazing. Okay. So that's what's
Exactly.
also taking it back to my initial point. You need to do your research and find a coach that does multiple preps with you. Don't hop from coach to coach because you're never going to know what's happening with your body then. So get a coach, even if it doesn't go well at a show, you know what not to do next time, right? Don't blame your coach. Take it as information like, okay, this didn't work. I'm not going to do this again. Next approach.
Yeah, absolutely. For sure. So my next question is, what has been the biggest mindset shift that has helped you excel in your training or your diet?
That's a very good question. I think training, that's never been an issue for me, right? Because I love training. I've never had to change my mindset. I think I was just born to, I don't know, like
Train.
lifting heavy things. I just enjoy
Yeah.
it. I don't know. I was probably like a builder or like a slave in like a past life. They were like, yeah, like you'll carry the heavy stuff. But I, but I think for diet wise, my mindset is would if I was an IFBB pro right now, would I eat that? Would I
Mm,
carry? Would will that bring me to my end goal? And if the answer is no, then no, you're not eating that, right?
nice.
You're not gonna go out and drink this weekend, right? Because like, would an IFBB pro do that? Would an Olympian athlete do that? No, they wouldn't.
Yeah. So it's kind of giving yourself that self identification that you already are what you want to be.
100%. You need to emulate that. It's never gonna happen for you if you're not emulating that for yourself. So if you tell yourself, listen, I'm an IFBB pro, or I've stepped on the Olympia stage. I've been there. Like, will I go out this weekend? Am I gonna go drink this weekend? Am I gonna like stuff my face? Am I gonna binge this weekend? No, I'm not.
Hmm. Yeah. When was the point of your career or your journey that you decided that, hey, I want to one day be an Olympian? Like, was it always there from the beginning, from the first show that you were speaking about, or when did that come to your mind?
No, no. So that was definitely not from the first show. So the NPC basically only started in South Africa. So that's basically the only way you can become. So you need to basically be part of the NPC, which is the amateur part of the federation. And then when you
Hmm.
get your pro card, they're part of the IFBB Pro League, right? Then once you're IFBB Pro, you need to win a pro show to qualify for the Olympia. So in South Africa, there's never really been an option for us, right? It only basically, I think, happened at the end of 2019 where they were like, the NPCs in South Africa. And I was like, oh, wow, that's great. But I didn't really know like how it worked. So I think it's probably only after I took that overall in classic physique and I got the judges' feedback. They were like, listen, you have really good genetics. Like you could potentially qualify for the Olympia. And I was like, really? Like you don't have to just say that. You don't have to just be that. They're
Yeah,
like, no, like
exactly.
like there's actually a possibility for you to qualify. So I was like, okay, well if you think so, because some of the judges that were on that specific judging panel, they go to the Olympia every year. The head judge of South
Hmm.
Africa is actually there right now at the Olympics this weekend. And I had
Yeah.
a posing session with him about 5 weeks ago, and he told me again, like, listen, you can qualify for the Olympia one day. Just put your head down. I'm not going to tell you this just to make you feel better. I don't need to tell you this. Like, you can do it. So I was like, okay, well, if the head judge and other judges like go there every year are telling me this, then why not?
Yeah, exactly. They're seeing the best physiques in the whole entire world. And if they're giving you that feedback, why wouldn't you pursue it? It'd
No,
be very stupid
100%.
if you didn't.
Yeah, 100%. So I mean, like it's obviously more challenging because where I'm based, but it's not
Yeah,
impossible, right? It's
exactly.
just more challenging. It's not impossible. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like you could be someone that like, potentially puts like South Africa on the map when it comes to bodybuilding, right? Like, are there any?
Yes,
Yeah, go ahead.
there are, but I don't want to bash anyone. Not their physiques at all. Like their physiques are amazing, but they in South Africa, I don't know if it's the algorithm or if Instagram and the other social media companies just hate us, but no one really has a like I have a pretty big following for a South African, right? So I have like
Yeah.
just under 160,000 followers on Instagram alone, which is massive here. Like I know like in Canada and the US, people have like millions of followers. Um, so I think just there's a lot of great bodybuilders here with amazing physiques, but nobody knows about them.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And what's your goal, I guess, with the social media? Is it kind of to showcase, like, maybe is it a part of like your nation and what you want to do with South Africa, or is it more like something for yourself as well? Obviously, it's for yourself, but I'm just trying to get an understanding of like what your
Yeah.
goals are with social media.
So my thing is social media for me. I only took it up seriously last year, to be honest with you, and I gained like I think no, I gained like over like 130,000 followers just because like I started posting and the algorithm decided, shame, let's give this guy a chance. I think so. I was like, okay, well,
Yeah.
let's see how this goes. So I don't really have a specific plan. Obviously, working with companies, sponsorships and things like that. Always open to that. There are some companies that have approached me, but then I tell them I'm based in South Africa, and then they're like, "Oh, sorry, we can't really
Oh,
work with
damn.
you." Yeah, I know that happens quite regularly. But the most of my followers are actually in the US. I send them all my analytics and things, and it just doesn't really matter, I guess. So I think that would be my short term goal is just to maybe get some brand deals and sponsorships to help me compete, like on the IFBB Pro League in the US and potentially going to the Olympia. But I think short term or longer term, I just really enjoy making people laugh. Like my posts are a little bit controversial. My YouTube
Yeah.
channel also I kind of just have fun with it. I do want people to see that bodybuilders aren't like super serious all the time, right? Like
Hmm.
we have personalities, and yeah, I like most of my videos. Some of my friends are on the videos with me, and we're just like having fun at the gym between sets or while we're waiting for machines and things like that. So I don't think it's anything super serious. My social media, I just want it to grow and yeah, have fun with it. I want social media to be a little bit more fun. I think it's very heavy personally, I feel
Yes.
like it's very heavy at the moment.
Yeah, it's like you're saying, like everyone takes everything you say so serious. Like even if it's
Yeah,
clearly a joke, it's clearly satire, they'll view it as like truth. They're like, "Oh, what's wrong with this guy?" Right? But it's like you're saying, you're just trying to have fun, and you could post whatever you want at the end of the day. So what people think about it or not doesn't really matter.
yeah, and I think that there's power in that as well. Like you need to also kind of have a backbone to stick with what you post, right? You can
Yes,
post what you want. Like obviously, I'm against like inciting violence. Don't be like you don't do something ridiculous. But if it's a joke where you're just having fun, like stick to it. Have a backbone.
exactly. Yeah. That's the whole reason why I kind of started this podcast, was to get like influencers and people on the internet in a deeper conversation, because it's like you're saying, we may look at these people on the internet and think a certain way about them, think they're vain, think they're whatever. But when you actually like speak to them, like I have not had one, I've done like 20 to 30 guests total because I used to have a podcast before this one. And like every single person I spoke to was cool. They all had good personalities, they all had good stories, and it's like if you saw their Instagram, you'd probably be like, "Oh, this guy, I don't like this person." And sometimes you don't even know
100%.
why you don't like them. You just look
100%.
at them and you're like, "I don't like them," and you're like, "Why?" But when you actually speak to them, you just realize they're a normal person like me.
100%. I have a rule because I have the same habit as you. When I find someone on social media and I initially have this knee jerk reaction like, oh, this guy must be like, there's something wrong. I don't like him. And I can't even tell you why I don't like this person. I'm like, I never pass judgment unless I've spoken to you in real life. Or like, unless I've spoken to you, I cannot give an opinion of you. I have that
Exactly.
rule now. So when I feel myself having that reaction, I'm like, no, sorry, you've never spoken to this person. You don't know them.
Yeah. And it's like you're saying, a lot of the times, like people got to understand that social media is like a business, right? So people are going to do and say things on social media that's going to help with the algorithm, help them get more views, right? Just so people could start watching them. And it's like a lot of the times it's not exactly what they think, or, it's just to incite like a reaction because that's what gets views, right? So,
100%. I mean, like, I think the most valuable currency at the moment is attention. And how do you get
mhm,
attention? By being controversial. So
yeah,
even if you don't 100% believe or you do something tongue in cheek, some people might take it seriously and like, oh, but this guy said this. And I'm like, okay, but that's clearly a joke.
yeah,
That's clearly a joke. But you also need to take into consideration there's different cultures around the world. And like I said earlier, like someone might be having an awful day and they just take it super personally. They're like, oh, this post is about me. And you're just
yeah,
making
it's
like an
targeted at
offhanded
me.
comment. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure. 100%. So I guess my next question, kind of building off that with the whole social media thing and just people in general, is what do you believe is one thing that most people get wrong about bodybuilding as a sport and the competitors?
That we are extremely narcissistic and egotistical. I promise you, if you go up to the biggest guy in your gym and you ask them for advice, 99.9% they'll help you. They
Yeah,
will go out of their way to help you. I can almost guarantee it to you.
yeah,
So I think that's the main thing. It's the people that are just like these casual gym goers that maybe want to be bodybuilders, but they don't know how, or they've tried and they failed. They're the people that are very snotty and narcissistic and egotistical. But I promise you, like you go up to any bodybuilder at your gym, go to the biggest guy. This happened to me because I train at this gym where I'm the biggest guy. It's not like being egotistical. It's just there's the most of the gym is like kids in high school. So
yeah,
that's why I'm the
e-
biggest guy there because I'm not
exactly.
in high school anymore.
Yeah,
So and the one guy came up to me. He's like, "Don't want to interrupt you, but I've just started training, and I don't know how to do like this exercise." So I was like, "Oh, but let me show you and whatever." So then after like I showed him a couple of exercises, like, "But you're actually so nice." I'm like, like I promised you, like most bodybuilders are. Just go up to the biggest guy in the gym and be like, "Listen, I don't know how to do this, or how do you do this?" And they will show you. I promise you.
yeah. I think it's like that quote that people say is that like a business owner will never knock you or hate you or throw shade at you because you're starting a business. The biggest guy in the gym isn't going to laugh at you because you just started going to the gym. It's kind of like what you're saying. It's that like person that goes sometimes and has a lot of insecurity that they'll project it on those new people, but usually it's like you're saying, like I know guys at my gym that they're huge, and like you go speak to them, they're the nicest people. So I think it's just such like a bad judgment.
Yeah, 100%. And like the old saying goes, no one doing better than you will ever like hate on you or try to bring you down. So if you think about that, like the biggest guy, like why would he be mean to you? Why would he be awful to you?
Yeah,
We all started with no muscle. Like no one ever has ever walked into a gym like jacked, right? Before training.
exactly.
So we all the bodybuilders know, like we all started somewhere. So like, and I wish I had like a massive guy in my gym when I started training that I would up to, and I was like, how do you do this?
Yeah. Because a lot of the times you end up having to learn all these things by yourself, and you think to yourself, imagine if I had someone guiding me like a mentor, I would be able to make progress much quicker, right?
100%. I mean, I wasted probably about like 3 years, like the first 3 years of training, because if I think back now, I just cringe. I'm like, why? Like, what was I doing? Um,
Hmm.
so yeah, I agree with you. Like, just go up to the biggest guy in your gym, being like, listen, I just started training. I've no idea what I'm doing. What do you recommend? What exercises do you think I should focus on? If you were me, what exercises? And then you master those exercises, and then up after a couple of months, go back to them like, listen, I can do this properly. What's next? Let's go.
Exactly. For sure. And you do online coaching as well, right?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Okay, so what made you get into that, and like how has that been for you so far?
So I do really, really enjoy it. So I don't have any clients at the moment that compete. So it's more lifestyle style clients. I have clients that were with other coaches that kind of messed their bodies up, just in terms of the protocols and things that they were doing, diets and things like that. So there's a lot of people that come to me that their metabolism isn't really functioning properly and things like that. And because I have that scientific background. I do have like the qualifications to actually help them with that.
Hmm.
I find it very, very rewarding. And the reason why I went into it is just because there were so many, I saw so many coaches that had no idea what they were doing, but they had these massive amounts of clients. I was like, I'm more qualified than these people, and I'm not, I'm not doing online coaching. So I might as well just give this a go and see how it goes because I have the expertise to help people. So I
Yeah.
started off there, and yeah, it's grown amazingly. Even though I don't have any clients that compete, I'm obviously open to that. It's just how it's worked out. I just do more lifestyle clients.
Yeah. And I assume it's very fulfilling when you see these people like transform their physiques, right? And like how do you see the change within the person even outside of the physique? Like you could see that their mental health is better, I assume, and all that.
Yeah, so the one story, my one client, I won't mention his name, but he's 44 years old. His birthday was last week, and we've been working together for about a year now. He's 5 kids, and his thing was he was quite overweight, struggling with his weight, and he was like, "Listen, my goal is I don't care what I look like. I want to be able to run around with my kids outside." And I was like, "Okay, let's do this." So, and then he sent me a video last week, like basically on his birthday, like him running around, like jumping on a trampoline, playing with his kids. So that's like I can't even like translate or like explain to you how that feels. That's like so rewarding to be like, listen, you came from someone that like sat behind your desk and basically just like ate your feelings away, not
Yeah.
spending time with your kids, now being able to run around with the kids, right? That's like you
Yeah.
can't put words. That's like you can't put a price on that. You can't put a feeling on that.
Exactly. It's
Yeah,
unexplainable
100%. Yeah.
for sure. So my next question for you is what advice would you give to someone who has just decided to pursue bodybuilding but is confused about how to start because of all these opinions online because every single person's telling you what you should be doing. How do you dissect what's good from what's wrong?
So I would start with the basics, the compounds, the compound movements, right? So there's three compound movements. Yeah. So it's bench press, your deadlift, and your squat. Okay. So you need to master those three movements. Like don't like you can do other things, but those three are the things that I would focus on for a year to do properly. Don't worry about the weight. The weight, if you have no weight on the bar, you have no weight on the bar. You need to perfect your form on your compounds for training specifically, right? If you want to add some other things in here and there, don't worry about it. But bench press, squat, deadlift, perfect those movements. Then diet wise, okay, this is probably like training you can kind of get away with. If you mess up your training here and there, it's not the end of the world. But diet
Yeah.
wise, carbs aren't the enemy. Okay, so I would really focus on you don't have to. I would also say if you don't have money for supplements, don't waste your money on supplements. You don't need. Are you going to tell me you would rather have a protein shake than a piece of steak after a workout? If you tell me
Yeah.
protein shake instead of a steak, I'm going to tell you you're lying. So, so whole foods, your friend. Like you're not gonna need that much food, especially when you're starting training. So you're probably gonna end up spending less amount of money on actual whole foods than supplements when you start training. I would only add the supplements when your calorie requirements start going up quite a lot. So focus
Yeah.
on whole foods, whole proteins, and carbs before and after your workout. That was my main like if I can like dumb it down.
Yeah. To the basics of what people should do. Like this is someone that, just discovered the gym and they want to start working out. That's the advice you would give them.
Yeah, 100%. So leave the supplements, get whole foods, and focus on those three movements. Because if you perfect those three movements, even if you can't go even heavy after a year, you're going to be building those stabilization muscles and strengthening your joints and your tendons to eventually move on to more complex exercises.
For sure. Yeah, you need to get that foundation started.
100%. Yeah.
All right, my next question is what do you think is something that is missing in the bodybuilding community that it once had before?
Intensity while training. Everyone's
Yeah.
sitting on their phones at the gym. And then they're always like, oh, but I'm not getting any results. I'm like, okay, You've 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 been chatting to your friend. If you're not chatting with your friend, you're sitting on your phone. You're
Yeah.
maybe doing like 2 or 3 sets. you're hardly breaking a sweat. So there's absolutely, me and my training partner last night, we were just looking. The gym looked absolutely crazy, like in terms of busyness. But then you just realize, okay, but there's a lot of people here, no one's training. So the machines
Mm-hmm.
are all open. So I think that's
Yeah.
something that's, if I can give you advice, download, like if you have a app like Spotify, download your playlist, put your phone on airplane mode. So the only time you touch your phone when you change your song.
Yes.
Don't have the distraction of quickly just checking Instagram or quickly just opening TikTok. So that's what I do. I have my workout playlist downloaded. When I step into the gym, airplane mode, done. So the only time I'm on my phone is I want to skip a song or put it on repeat or whatever.
Yeah, I see that a lot too, man. Like, I don't understand it. People, like, when I go to the gym, I go super early. Like, I'm a morning person, so I go at like
Okay.
5 a.m. and I'm there, I'm working out. When I see people that go there and they're not training hard, props to them because they're showing up. But in my opinion, it's like, one, you're waking up extremely early to go train, and then you go there and you're not training as hard as possible. Like, what's the point of even showing up? And it's like you're saying, I could totally understand you going on your phone to maybe track down a weight you did, or switch a song. But like, when you see people scrolling on TikTok in between their sets, it's like, how are you meant to stay focused? It's like,
Yeah.
if you were doing work on the computer, if every 10 minutes you opened up TikTok to scroll for 2 minutes, you can never get into that flow state. You couldn't.
100%. Yeah, and I think that flow state's something that's basically you can only get to that intensity while you are in that flow state. And
Hmm.
you will only realize that flow state if you stay off of your phone. I don't think there are
Yes.
so many people at the gym that don't even know what we are speaking about when we mention like flow state, because
Yeah,
everyone is TikTok brain. It's not just at the gym.
exactly.
Like even when I go do my shopping, sometimes I'm trying like moving my grocery cart around, and this person's like all over the aisle because they're like scrolling TikTok, and I'm just like, okay, but you need to move now.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know, man. It's very bad, like where most people's attention spans are. But these apps are designed to like keep you addicted and keep you wanting more. So sometimes you can't even blame these people. But it's one of those
Yeah.
things that you have to like within yourself, like limit your usage, because then it's like you're saying you have that TikTok brain.
Yes. No, 100%. And also, I think I read an article that the TikTok app is actually based off of like casino like the slot machines.
Yes. Yeah.
That's so. I mean, like you can't blame people from reacting to that kind of stimulus. So that's why you need to self-regulate and say, listen, okay, I'm not going to be watching TikTok at the gym.
Yeah.
Maybe while I'm doing cardio, by all means, because cardio is awful. But weight
Yeah.
training, like no, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah. You can't be going for a heavy bench set and then like be scrolling just before, you know?
Yeah, I think there was also a study that said they did like I can't remember if it was TikTok or Instagram, where people's PR decreased while they were scrolling between sets
I
on
can
the app.
imagine. Yeah.
So it actually like directly like impacts your performance as well. So even if you are there to train with intensity and you're just quickly looking at something, it takes you out of that flow state because now you're like, okay, what was I doing? Like, where am I?
Yeah. 100%. I want to get your opinion on this. Do you find that your training is better when you're more emotional?
So in terms of like emotional turmoil, like,
Yeah,
or what
like
do you
I
mean?
know I know it sounds kind of cringy, but like to me at least, when I'm like sad or I'm angry, those are like usually my best training sessions. I wonder if you feel the same way.
So I'm quite a like mellow person, so I don't really experience like that much of a emotional. How would I say? Like I don't want to call it roller coaster, but just varying emotions like that.
Hmm.
And I've kind of built my life like that, but I just do not be in those situations because I've been in a lot of those situations in the past. But I do agree with you, and I think especially as men, um, we do actually need that like physical outlet for emotions, even if it's a good emotion or negative emotion. So I agree with you. Um, I've just never experienced it personally, but I do 100% agree with you, and I can see why your sessions would be better because we are more logical and more practical. So if you feel emotion, for you to go do something, it's the best outlet. Because for you to just sit around and
Yes.
think about it, we're not built like that. For me, like women could maybe think about it and then go talk about it, but I think as men specifically, you need to physically and logically go do something about it.
Yeah, I agree. Cause like, it's like you're saying, if because like I would say I'm a very calm person as well, but it's when those times where something's going on, where I might be angry, I might be sad, whatever. When I go train, it's like an escape from that, and then it's like I'm pushing all that emotion into the session, right? And then it's like
Yes,
when I leave the gym, that feeling is gone. And even something that's so true, bro, that I think is that training in itself is so important, like any kind of physical pursuit, because I'm much more capable of thinking clearly when I like just went to the gym. Like I think
yes.
so irrational when I haven't done any form of training like on a day-to-day basis.
No, 100%. And I think that goes back to like the mental health like issue or crisis that we're having. I think a lot of people just they don't even go for a walk outside in the sunlight. So I
Mhm.
mean, like they just sit. They might maybe go to school the whole day, university or work the whole day. They don't see the sun. They don't go for a walk, and then they wonder, like, but why do I feel this way? Like
Yeah.
you're physically manifested in this world. Like you need to use your body. You're not meant to just sit behind a desk or sit on your phone or computer the whole day.
Exactly. Yeah, that's why I think like every single person needs like if it's bodybuilding, if it's powerlifting, if it's soccer, basketball, whatever. You need like even if you're not going to go professional in it and there's no idea that you want to do that, you just need some physical thing you do every single day. Even like you say like walks and stuff. Cuz
Yeah, even if it's just walk, like basic things. Like people are always like, "Oh, but you're a bodybuilder. Like I don't have time to spend 2 hours in the gym every day." I'm like, but you have 20 minutes to go walk outside.
Mhm.
Definitely. Like you can watch an episode of Netflix. You have 20 minutes to go walk outside.
Yeah. That's the thing too, and I think a lot of it's priorities, bro, because you'll check their screen time and it will be like 4 or 5 hours, and you're like, what do you mean you don't have time to go work out or time to go for a walk or time to play a sport, you know?
Yeah, and I mean, I, I kind of, I do, I do feel sorry for them because it's almost like no one tells anyone this,
Yes.
because you kind of have to be cruel to be kind. You have to be like, listen, but you have to do something physical. You can't just sit around the whole day and then wonder why you're sad or you feel depressed or lonely or whatever.
Yeah.
So I think we need to speak more about it. To be like, listen, do something, anything, like physically
Hmm.
during the day.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. It's like we're not told the importance of that. Like, yes, we know like there's scientifical statistics that say every person should exercise for this amount of minutes per week or whatever it might be, but no one is telling you that that should be a priority in your life.
That
That's
should,
where I feel like it's
I
missing.
think, that's like probably like one of your top three priorities that you
Yeah,
need to
in
do
your
like every
life.
single day. Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. All right, I got a question here. I got two more questions for you, but this next one I just want to hear your opinion. So, what are your top five predictions for the Classic Olympia this
Oh,
weekend and the Open Olympia?
no, don't ask me this. I don't ask me this. I think I think Chris Bumstead will win again, right? So
Hmm.
I think he is the standard for classic. It's probably the fullest he's ever looked from the show. I think about like from 3 weeks out, I've been telling my gym partner there's no one that will beat him because he has the fullness. He doesn't look depleted. He's very close to his weight cap. Even I think he was still under his weight cap if I'm not mistaken. So he'll take first place for classic. I think Ramon will take second as per last year. I think then Wesley, um, how do you say it in English? Fizzers?
Yeah, Wesley
Fishers? Yeah.
Fizzers. Yeah,
Fizzers. Do you say okay? Yeah, we call it Fizzers in yeah. I think he's from Germany or the Netherlands. I'm
Germany.
not sure.
Oh, the
Germany, yeah.
Netherlands. Yeah,
So yeah. So my first language is Afrikaans, which is basically like a dialect of what would you call Dutch? Yeah.
oh,
So
I
we call
see.
it Fissish. Yeah. So I think he'll take third place. Yeah, those are my top three. I'm not quite sure who will take fourth and fifth. I think maybe Urs will take fourth. Um, And then there's this one guy. His name is Josima Beast or
I think I've
some.
seen him before. Yeah.
I think he might be top five. To be honest with you, he looks insane. It's his first Olympia, and he's still. I think he's like 22 or 23. He looks insane. I think he's from Spain.
Oh
So
yeah.
I would really like him to be in the top five, just personally. I don't know if he will, but I think I've seen him his training videos. Like, he's still so young, and he has an insane physique. So I hope he makes the top five. And then for open, I actually have Hardy for first place. I
Hardy,
think he will beat
Hardy
Derek.
winning.
I think he will beat Derek this year, and then Derek second. Um, and I'm not quite sure for the rest. I'm not for open. It's a
It's a
wild card for
toss
me. Like,
up.
it's very because Nick Walker is like out now as well. I think he announced it last week. My heart breaks. I've
I
been
know.
there
I
where I
wanted
had
to
to
see
pull out
him
of a show. Just I had to pull out for work reasons because I had to travel. I still have a day job, so I know how it feels just pulling out of a show. And at that level, I mean, pulling out of the Olympia when it's your career. I mean, it must be heartbreaking.
for
Um,
sure.
yeah, and the rest, actually, I don't know for open. I'm not. Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't wanna
there's
overplay my hand. It's a wild card this year.
100%. Like you got Samson, you got Andrew,
Mm.
Brendan Curry still around. Like there's so
And
many.
they're all looking so I mean, like, I can't tell you, but I think the top two for open is definitely Hardy will win, and then Derek will take second. I think that's my
Yeah.
prediction. But I'm not going to say the rest of the top five because I'm going to get it horribly wrong.
No, but I've seen so many predictions for shows, and it's one of those things you can't make any prediction because you could see social media, you could see them even in person, but the night of the
Yeah.
show is what counts, right?
And that's the thing, like what a lot of people also don't understand, and I've spoken to the head judge here in South Africa quite regularly. You can't base like we see the pictures and maybe like the live stream, but it's like the people look completely different when you're there in real
Mm-hmm.
life. And also, you need to realize, okay, you may be sitting like fifth row. You're not sitting on the judges' panel. Like, the
Yeah.
judges are looking like they're looking up. You're looking from like the back, and you're like, oh, but why is that guy getting like fifth place? He should be first. But the judges are like sitting here looking exactly all of the detail, and they're assessing not just people are like, oh, but this guy's side chest is better than that guy. You are assessed from the moment you start walking on that stage. So you can't just say,
Yes.
oh, but this pose or but this. No, like he might have relaxed his gut back there, and that's cost him
Yeah.
the first place, or they moved him on to like third place or something like that. So a lot of people don't understand, like, the moment your foot hits that stage and that stage light hits your face, you are being judged. It's not just the poses.
And I think you're so right, bro, because last year I went to my first bodybuilding show. I went to the Toronto Pro. And
Oh, awesome.
yeah, it was sick. It was a cool experience. Like Ian was competing that year. It was Ian Hassan.
Okay.
And like when you see the pictures and the videos on Instagram, like it does not show how conditioned these guys are. Like when you see it in person, you're like, holy, this looks alien. Like this doesn't look human. But in the pictures, that's like lost, even in the
Yeah.
videos. So I could totally understand why people online will say, how did that guy get first? But it's like if you were there, you would see the difference.
Yeah. So that's always my thing. I'm like, okay, that guy might have won or he got second, and I don't agree, but I wasn't there. But
Yeah.
the shows I've attended here, I've always been able to tell, okay, no, that guy will win, this guy will get second, that guy will get third if I'm there in person.
For sure. 100%. All right, Bruce, my last question for you, I ask every guest
Yes.
this is kind of a deep one, is how
Oh
do you want
man,
to be remembered?
how I want to be remembered. I would like to be remembered as someone that really enjoyed my life and made other people laugh while following my passion. I think that's something a lot of people have lost their sense of humor just in the time that
Hmm.
we live in. So if I made you laugh or just slightly giggle while following my passion, I'd be happy with that.
Yeah, that's a great way to go about life, bro.
I hope
For
so. We'll
sure.
see how it works out. You can say
Yeah.
something nice at my funeral one day.
Exactly. And talk about the podcast.
Yeah.
All right, is there anything you want to plug before I close this out?
You can just follow me on my socials. All my socials are Building Bruce, Instagram, TikTok, and then YouTube as well. If you want to follow along, hopefully I get my pro card this year. If I do, we could maybe have a follow-up podcast
Yes.
so I can explain to you how I felt like I was dying on the inside, but I did win my pro card.
Exactly. No, I'd love to do that, man. Get a part two.
Yeah, definitely. It would be awesome.
For sure. So, Bruce, if you could stay a little bit after I close out just to discuss how the podcast went, how you liked it. But I'm going to close it out here. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. If you guys like this video, remember to subscribe, comment, follow us on Spotify. And remember, we gain insight in order to move forward in life. Take care, everybody.